Hey, it's me, Russ, doing a radiator in the rain on the Jeep Liberty. I thought I would do something different since there's so many videos on it. This is a speed through, so difficulty level 5 being most difficult, 1 being super easy. I would put this at about 3, maybe 2.5, because there's so many videos on it out there. But here's the speed through. You ready? All right, so the first thing you got to do is pull off the grill. That's right, this comes off. So 3, 4 bolts here, and this comes out. It's just on a little hook thing down there at the bottom. You remove that. The next thing you're going to need to do is remove this and pull this out of the way. That's right, it goes on the front here, and there are 10 millimeter bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and at the bottom 5 and 6. So you just keep it connected. It's got the thing on it. You put it up and out of the way, and that part is done. Get that out of there. Next, you're going to need to remove this rubber thing here. This is the most frustrating thing about this job, is this stupid rubber bevel thing that protects water from getting front into the vehicle. I don't know. But these have to pop out. You get underneath them, pop them out this way, and then there's the screws here that hold the radiator in. They're quite long, so you have one up here, and these holes right here are to remove the one on the bottom. So after you do that, remove your hoses. You got your hose here, you got your hose here. I actually replaced this hose because it was swollen and it looked really worn, and the last thing I want, this is my daughter's vehicle, last thing I want is for her to be broke down and this hose explode, all right, because it's way down there, and once the electric fan is in, it's really hard to get to. So I went ahead and replaced this hose. This hose is very important. This hose looks okay still. It's a little bit swollen here, and here, but not too bad. Not nearly as bad as the one on the bottom was. Probably because the thermostat is back here and it holds a lot of the pressure until the thermostat opens. So replace that hose. Next thing you're going to need to do is remove the electric fan, and there's 2 bolts at the top, and then it had a clip in, and then that comes out really easily. You have a pigtail that goes with it. It's right here. Again, you slide this over to the side, squeeze the back, and it pulls right out. So after the electric fan is out, the next thing you're going to need to do is remove these transmission lines. That is a 5/8 nut on there to pull these out. It's going to leak a little transmission fluid. You may need to put at least a quarter transmission fluid in it. This vehicle still has the transmission dipstick back there. You work on the radiator. Once those 4 bolts are out and you've removed the hoses, this bevel gets hung up, all right? So you got to kind of almost pry it off of the radiator, because especially down here, this is where I had some trouble getting it up and out. So once these are out, I'm going to put the radiator back in, and I'll show you something you're going to need to do with your old radiator as a tip, because the new radiator doesn't come with the screws. So there's screws that are nuts, actually, sorry. There's nuts right in the back of this that need to be pulled out of your old radiator and put into your new one, because odds are, at least with mine, did not come with the screws. Also, before you throw your old radiator out, this holds your transmission lines in place, slides out, simple like that. And the high-speed reinstall. So, finagled the radiator in there. Make sure there's pegs on the bottom of the radiator, holes on the frame. Easy, pop that in there. This rubber part in back goes in between the radiator and the oil condenser. Yeah. So this is a 2002, so it doesn't have the big coolant unit for the AC it just has this little guy. Some of you guys are going to have one that goes all the way across in the front here, and it hooks on down here. All right, so but we don't have that on this one, so I just have 2 bolts to put back in there, a bolt to put in there, and then boom, these bolts back here. Radiator screw. And I'm going to tighten it down. After that, this screw here. And of course, on this side, that one there. And nice and snug right against there. All right, how tight? Nice and snug. That's how tight, right there. Tightening up the transmission lines. Tightening down condenser. Electric fan time. Now remember, you gotta put it in the slots on the bottom there. See down there, down right there. Slot number 1, on the other side, number 2. And then bolt number 1, put it in, tighten it down. Bolt number 2, put it in, tighten it down. Don't forget to put in the connector. All right, fan's hooked up. Now, this guy. All right, so put all those screws in. Don't forget this one. And don't forget those ones down there. Also put this on. So make sure if you're using a turn it way down for these puppies when you screw those in. So Torx screws, nail them all down just like you took them out. Easy. Adding coolant and burping the system. So I poured, drop that. I poured distilled water in this end. You can use regular water. Regular water boils and can create more pressure, which can, just less pressure when you're using distilled water. So that's what I did. I put some distilled water in it. I don't know if it really matters. Leave this cap off. You could fill up the radiator too. So I got 1 part water, 1 part antifreeze. I'm using full strength antifreeze. Should you use the Mopar antifreeze, it's always the best way to go, but you could save a few bucks just using the green stuff, and some of the green stuff isn't too bad. It's not as bad as it used to be. People say, well, it creates gel. It used to. They've changed the formula. Again, technology advances. So we're going to fill it up with fluid. So again, don't have to break the bank. Buy an antifreeze. This is from Walmart. A lot of these companies, this is probably made by Pennzoil or someone. That's usually what they do. They usually contract out the companies to, it's like Duracell batteries, right? A lot of your cheap batteries are made by the same company. Same with antifreeze. It's not too many companies that make it. So again, it's like, don't break the bank. So we're gonna fill up the reservoir. That's right, going full poncho today. So spend a little more time on this because it's important. So I just took my, made a funnel, cut my jug in half, and then filling up the radiator part on this end again. All right, so 14 quarts is how much coolant this vehicle takes. We've already filled that up a little bit here. Let's see if it takes some more. Makeshift funnel out of my distilled water thing. This is just water I'm putting in here now. And so people may be like, this is how you pour it straight into the radiator. So some people may be like, hey, I just want to pour it in the reservoir, Russ. I don't know if I trust that. Well, it's going to take longer, and I don't suggest you run your engine with not a lot of fluid in it. So at 14 quarts, how many gallons is that? So it's 4 quarts in a gallon. You divide, that's going to be at least 3 gallons. At least 3 gallons of fluid that this thing holds. So you're going to want at least 2 gallons of fluid in this vehicle before you just start running it, warming it up, and working to burp the system. Because if you don't, that's a lot of heat on your engine. Another little tip for you, if you hold this sideways, it won't gurgle. All the air is coming out at the same time. Yeah, you pour it slowly too. So it now is as full as it's gonna get. And I'm going to attach this hose. Channel locks, attaching the hose, both ends. All right, so warming up. I let it keep warming up until it started to get to the top here. Put the cover on it. It'll just overflow out. And this is a bleeder screw. Mine's all stripped out, thanks to the previous owner. But that's how that goes. But everything's good. You feel your hose. You can feel it's not full of fluid. It's a little hot. It's got water running through it. Everything is awesome. So, all done.